So it is time to start. I would like to welcome everyone who has taken their time to come and attend this second SONA webinar. My name is Lihle Kulu. I am the Deputy Secretary General of SONA. If you haven't heard of SONA, then I think this is a good space to know more about SONA. SONA is the Society of Neuroscientists in Africa, and we have different regional secretaries. So if you are interested in joining SONA and knowing more about SONA, please feel free to contact us on the email address that was part of the webinar, and we will give you more information. And also on your email, please indicate which region you fall under so that we would be able to appropriately send you to the person that is responsible for your region. Without wasting any more time, I would like to introduce Dr. Philip. Give me a second. Sorry, yeah. I would like to introduce Dr. Philip, who is going to be giving us a background and facilitating a question and answer session on today's topic, which is scientific publication and research project writing. We found that this is a very important webinar to host because a lot of us, as the year begins, we set goals. We say we want to publish 20 publications and all 20 get rejected. So what is it that we need to know before we decide to start a project, or what is it that we need to know before we even decide to write for a publication? I am very confident that my colleague, Dr. Philip, whom I have known for a number of years now, through platforms such as iBro and SONA, I'm very confident that he will be able to give us a more than detailed information that we as scientists can actually follow. Also, please be aware that you can actually send your questions on the text box, and Nina or myself will be able to send these questions to Dr. Philip. A brief bio about Dr. Philip is that Dr. Philip is, he obtained his BSc and MSc degree in anatomy from the University of Olorin in Nigeria. He pursued his doctoral degree in anatomy with a major in neurobiology at Olabisi Onabanjo University, or Ago Iwoye, Nigeria. Thank you. And was supported by grants from the Company of Biologists Ltd UK and the International Society of Neurochemistry ISN during his research work at Louisiana State University in the USA. Dr. Adieni has received several prestigious awards like the iBro ARC bursary and the Young iBro Regional Connecting Award, which enabled him to carry out his postdoctoral work at LSU. He has over 7 years of experience in teaching at the university level. Dr. Adieni is a member of the Young Scientist Steering Committee, YSSC, of the ISN, and is currently coordinating the ISN Ambassadorship Program. Currently, his research work at Oregon Health and Science University focuses on understanding the role of glia in white matter injury and Alzheimer's diseases. Dr. Adieni's dedication to research and mentoring the next generation of scientists makes him a key figure in the field. I want to agree with that, as he has a very excellent mentoring network that he has started himself, and I have been one of the people that have been engaged in his network, or let me say organization. Dr. Philip, over to you.
Yes, I'm very honored to give a talk on this very important topic. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I discussed with a friend of mine who is surprisingly in South Africa. We talk about publications widely, and I was able to give him what I think is a problem of the scientific community, especially African scientific community, penetrating the world at large. Therefore, as you notice, I rephrased my title, the topic, a bit for the purpose of orderliness, because I believe you need to first do your project. You have a project plan, and before you proceed to write. And as Dr. Kulu said, I'm a postdoc at OHSU, and last year I just got being admitted as an ADRC Rec Scholar. Now, I'll divide my planned talk into this. I added another one, and that's the need for research proposal, project writing, then we'll now end it with publications, scientific publication. Now, I want to briefly, before we move further, I want to introduce us to scientific research life cycle, in case you don't know. Scientific research have a life cycle on its own. When you first have your own idea, and then the first thing you need to do is to write a proposal about it. And why do you need a proposal? Because you need to convince someone who will fund your work that this idea is worth pursuing. Then thereafter, you need to gather some preliminary data, research data from that work, from that idea to proof. And then you need to do more data to get more data, and then next data, more data, and again, more data and more data. And later on, you may sit down to review those data. And next, you draft your first draft. You get it done, and you move on to draft the second one, and probably finally, then you write your final report. And this is what I will try to take us through. I hope I'll be able to do justice to that in the time given to me. Now, the need for research proposal, as I briefly said, it is not an ideal thing for you to do your research with your own personal money, which means it's like a business venture. You have an idea on how you will change the world, how you want to change our world. Either, especially now I'm talking to neuroscientists, you want to, you have someone with epilepsy, and you have an idea on how to either stop the onset or to stop the progressions of the disease, or to slow down the progressions. You can either have those three options. Now you have that idea, you need to test it preliminarily to generate a data that it will help you to convince someone. And while you are doing that, you need to do some literature review. And that is what I want to convince you about this power. Why do you need that? I said you need to get finance. And as when I was being introduced, I was told of a lot of grants. I was privileged to have a lot of grants. In fact, my PhD was fully sponsored by a grant from international organization. Now, you need to because sometimes proposal is actually a requirement. If you are a graduate student, if you are a PhD holder, you know you must have gone through it. If you have a first degree, you know you must have been asked to write a proposal about what you want to do. And number 3 points is that it helps you to practice to identify logical steps. Because sometimes if the idea comes, they come in raw form. You need to see them through lens of literature, what have been done before, and that you will know how to repeat them. And you find a loophole in the literature. Yes, these people, epilepsy, for instance, have been cured. It has been known to humans almost as human existence. But what have they done to cure it? And why can't they cure it up to now? Then what do you want to do? You set it. And that will help you to accomplish your goal. And lastly, as I said, you critically review, examine, and consider the use of different methods. They may have used one method that you think it may not work, then you propose your own method for gathering and analyzing the data related to the research problem you plan to solve. And here are the characteristics of a research proposal. A research proposal constitutes a request for approval for the research. Then don't forget, you are trying to convince someone of why the idea is the best among all. A research proposal constitutes a request for sponsorship. Don't forget sponsorship. Approval first, then you need sponsor. Thirdly, you need the proposal to be concise and coherent summary of your plan. Number 4, it is supposed to outline the process by which you want to, from the beginning to the end. How do you want to carry out your work? Where will be your source of information? The source of your primary data is, do you have a secondary data to back it up, and so on and so forth. You need to post them in order for even ordinary a layman to be able to understand that. And what is the goal? What is the goal of your research proposal as you are planning that? Is to present and justify the need to study a research problem. Don't forget, there is an end goal in mind. And secondly, is to present the practical ways in which the proposed study should or will be conducted. That is what we are given. And you have to justify this must be clearly written. In fact, if someone closes his eyes or her eyes, to be able to find that within your writing. Then what are the elements of an outstanding research proposal? Number 1 is novelty. Number 2, focus and incisive research plan. You must have that. 3, knowledge of publicly relevant work. And I must say, this is one of our greatest problems as an African scientist. Why? Because we don't have access to endless publications outside our continent. Why? Because of funds. And that limits your approach. I just reviewed a dissertation from the South African student, a postgraduate student of recent. And most of the time, my comment is that cite latest literature, cite current literature, cite current, or virtually almost every of my paper of the page, I put that. Why? Because the candidate is citing old literature that are almost about 15 years old. That will not prove. The concept must be relevant. Why? You don't want to waste effort in doing what someone has done in the other part of the world. Disease is likely to be unique to Africa, or it may not be unique to us, but you need to cite the current literature, and that is very, very important. And probably you need to advocate for more access to open journals. We know you may not have access to all, but you can talk to your colleagues outside who have access to that data, and you can say, can you please help me to download this paper? Please, I want to read this one. Those are opportunities by which that will help you to cite that. I do that a lot. Knowledge of relevant population, relevant work is very, very important. Experience in essential methodology. For instance, some time ago, about probably a year or two, I reviewed a paper from someone that used a common antibody but misinterpreted the result. I was so surprised. Therefore, you must be able to understand why do you do this behavior. For instance, you want to analyze. I attended a webinar about 2 weeks ago, and a lady presented. She was looking for a reward system, impact of a drug on a reward system, and she focused more on medial prefrontal cortex. Where I was baffled. Okay, well, I did the same mistake when I was doing my PhD. My PhD was more of neurobiology of addictions, but I focused on prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and the striatum. I was asking her that, why don't you look for the reward in VTA, very transegmental area? because that's the core center of the reward. It's where the dopamines are produced, and they project to all the 3 areas that have to do with the reward. Therefore, you must be able to understand the essential methodology on how to, and your behavior. And I added to her that your behavior analysis you are doing, you should don't focus only on hippocampal, focus on non-hippocampal form of memory, because it's very, very important. And you must be able to be sure that if there are for instance, if there's an increase in locomotion, you should be able to probe it further to see, is anxiety contributing to this? Therefore, you need to screen for anxiety. Don't just say, oh, I saw increase in locomotion activity. You may be able to probe further. For future directions and consistency, you need you must have a future direction. What if what you plan doesn't work? What if what you plan doesn't work? What else will you consider? It's very, very important. And I have an example of proposal writing here. One major thing that people have is that they have a funnel approach. That is a bottom heavy and narrow down. It's not good for higher degree research. You have why? Because you have a low quality of competitive articles, because you just broad. You won't be able to, it won't go too deep. And good publication, good journals want good publications that are in-depth on a particular area. But it was good for collaboration, because you can actually divide it into 2, and someone can do one part or the other, or 3 people can do it, as you see. The second one is pyramidal form. It is best for higher degree research, high quality of competitive articles, because you can have a lot of articles out of it. This is best for time banded research work. For instance, you are a master student, just focus on a small thing, but broaden it as you go down. That will give you a good quality article. Then it's also good for collaboration. You can, for instance, you are looking at impact of a drug on signaling, molecular signaling in the striatum, or we are looking for the communication between the CA1 and CA3, which we know that is very, very important for memory recall. Now, but you don't have the ability to do patching. Therefore, you can ask someone at UCT, for instance, to help you to do patching. Who is your collaborator? And you can do behavioral aspect in your own school. Therefore, that could help could be a very good work. Now, the third one is a cylinder form. The best approach for group and teamwork. High quality of competitive article, very costly, and time consuming. These are something like I work with here. My current work on AD, we are working within 4 centers. At OHS here, we have a primary center, we have the University of Washington, and we have our collaborator as Augusta University in Georgia. Therefore, it is divided. And how do we achieve that? It's been shared. People have their portion, what they do, as I explained earlier, and you can divide it in different forms. People take part, and different articles will come out. It just has to be published in a single, but in fact, each group have their postdoc, have their master student or PhD student that are handling each of those sections. But you can design it as a single big R1 grant in using the format here to be able to attract big funding. In fact, so a grant like this can actually attract their own imaging system. You can apply that, they give you a whole confocal set, and you can apply and request for MRI machine, and you can resolve for sequencing machine and along with it. Those are big multi-tier proposal that you may have. Now, what is the things you need to do when you want to present? As I said, focus, be specific in your aim, link hypothesis, explain method choosing, and why do you want to tell, how do you want to test it. Don't wander from the main topic. If you are focusing on signaling, continue your signaling. If you are looking at protein expression, make sure you focus on that. a conceptual model can clarify the idea. You can have a cartoon. I don't have time to talk about that on my work, but you can have that. Be realistic, not overly be ambitious. Don't tell them you want to land in, you want to go to the moon. Just be realistic, do what is possible. Don't forget those who will review it as scientists, probably who are better, and they are people in your field. Discuss potential problematic area. That was very important. Discuss possible solutions to in case you encounter such a problem. Then explain rationale for your decisions, and reviewer cannot read your mind. Therefore, you need to explain what you mean clearly in a plain English. And that's all about the proposal writing. Now, let's now go to the research project writing, which is the second part of the work on my talk. The research projects phase involve initial planning, designing, and executions of a study which you have already proposed. Now, all you are investigating. During this phase, the researcher identified a topic of interest, reviewed existing literature, as you have done in your literature review. Now you go on to collect the data and design a methodology to collect and analyze data, obtain necessary approval from the institution, depending on what, if you are using human, or you are using animal study, you need approval for any. Then, depending on the nature of the project, the researcher may use various methodology, including experiment, survey, interview, case studies, or archival research. In fact, you can go. In my paper that we just published with our collaborator from Allen Institute in Seattle here, we were able to reanalyze. I was able to reanalyze the bulk sequence data that we have, and I was able to pull out the ferocity related genes, which are very, very significant, and we are able to do fantastic work. In fact, we are continuing the next phase of that. I just submitted my own personal grant on AAC award on the Young Scholars grant on that same work. This research project phase typically involve data collection, data analysis, interpretation of findings, and drawing conclusions on what you have said, as I earlier giving yours in the life cycle. And these are elements. When you are now done writing that, you need to focus on the elements. Your title, abstract must be must be concise and very informative. Summarize research objectives, methods, and key findings of the abstract. In the abstract, therefore, you need to. Your title must be very concise, not to be too long, and must be inviting. What I mean by that is that people, when people see the title, they want to read further. Therefore, you have to sit down and come up with such. These are part of training. You never get in one day, you continue to get it as long. Then write a very good introduction, provide a background information, and the context for your research. Why are you into this research? And what are the loopholes you want to fill in your introduction? Stating the research problem and objective that you want to achieve. For the major deficiency, you have to go for the literature review, relevant literature review. I don't have much of time. I will have a couple of how I do my literature review. In fact, there is literature finders that are very good that you can use to track a particular paper. Don't be like people that will go and search a paper that they will say according to Philip Adeniyi et al. But when you get to Philip Adeniyi et al., Philip Adeniyi et al. Actually cited Philip et al. 2018. And when you get to Philip et al. 2018, the link, don't do that. Go to the original source. If the case may be, as the case may be. Even if you have to cite Alois Alzheimer himself, you cite it and back it up with the current information. Then, and describe your methodology clearly. Results, let them be where results they are important, but what more important is about how you present your result. You know, and the format at which you present it. Some people present their result, they want to publish in a reputable journal, and they are using an Excel sheet to present it. It makes it so simple. Those are things that I did where I was an undergraduate student, you don't want to do that and think you want to get in a big journal, because big journal have standard. And do your discussion, discuss your results, discuss what you get from your results, and irrelevant of a new current literature, and make your conclusion. Don't generalize. Summarize your key finding, your conclusion, and their significance. It's rating the research contribution into the field. Therefore, don't make bogus statement that, oh, now we know, well, now what we found cannot cure cancer. No, we know you are interested in curing cancer. Everybody will be happy if you cure cancer, but does that really cure cancer? Best practices. Here are some of the best practices for successful research project writing: setting clear research goals and objectives, aligning your research objectives with broader research questions and goals, establish achievable milestones and deadlines, develop a realistic timeline and project plan. By doing what? By breaking down the research process into manageable tasks. Who will collect the sample? Who will analyze the sample? Who will process the sample? Who will analyze the sample? In my lab here, I manage the Alzheimer's disease project, and I have two RAs. One help me to process the sections. Once I collect the sample, because I work directly with human brain, once we collect the sample, we keep them for frozen, those in PFA at 4 degrees. And by the time we want to pick them up, someone help me, I'll just pick it up. I'll gross it for her. She will section it, stain, and examine if they are good, give it to me. Then I hand it over to, I capture the image myself, because I want to be sure, using the serology system that I've developed. I acquire it, and I give it to another RA who will acquire the data and give it to me. And I have a quality control steps that I follow to come up with standardized results. Collaborate with mentors and colleagues, seeking guidance, get feedback from experienced researchers, engage your peer as well, and collaborate in your writing. Manage data effectively and ethically. Ensure that data integrity and confidentiality are very, very important. I wish I can explain more, but because most of these topics are very, very important. But I don't want to dwell so much because of our time. Document data collection and storage. In fact, yesterday, I just opened another hard drive, 18 terabytes, because I have my 4 terabytes is filled up. Currently, over the night now, I'm transferring all the data in the 18. I'm copying them from that 4 terabytes into 18 terabytes. That will be a second backup. The reason is I will not be always here. Even if I'm here, I may need to open it up one day. Therefore, we need a lot of backup, and you don't rely only on the cloud. Make sure you have a physical storage for your process samples. And when I came to OHSU for my research, for PhD research, by the time I came back, most of my frozen samples are still intact as a postdoc to work in the same lab. Therefore, it's very, very important that we just publish our data now in the frontier on our sequencing data that I did. In fact, that happened to be my first sequencing data project on the effect of methamphetamine exposure in prenatal. Could you believe that we just published it? As I was doing the work, I stopped doing that work in the midst of pandemic when I moved down here. And we were able to publish the data about 2 weeks ago. Can you imagine that? I left, another postdoc took over the project from me and analyzed some things, then we were able to publish it. Therefore, if I don't label my data well, that will have been lost. And very expensive. I can imagine how much I pay for sequencing all the pulse brains that are sections. Even extracting the RNA alone is enough work that you don't want to lose. addressing the ethical consideration, obtain informed consent, especially if you are using human brain like I do, or you are using human sample. Make sure you get informed consent on down this the lane of what you want to do, what you may want to do. Make sure you draft it very well, that it can stand the test of time. And these are tools and resources for research project writing. Use a reference manager. You can use EndNote, Mendeley, Nichero. They are very, very good for your managing your references, because you don't want to get to the point of publications and you notice that the references you have been shouting about, you can't locate it. Now you'll not be looking up and down. That will not be good. In fact, you may end up deleting it away from that, which is not good. You can have a writing enhancing editor. You can use Grammarly, especially for most of us who have another language of thinking other than English. Most of us think primarily in our mother tongue, and that affects the way we write our English. And therefore, it's not that it doesn't understand how to write. It doesn't mean that you don't know how to speak, but because it's the way you think, your local grammar may influence negatively your output in writing and science. And those who are primary speaker may find it difficult to comprehend what you use. Sometimes we write so much, what you're supposed to explain in a single paragraph, you explain in 3 paragraphs, and it waters it down. Sometimes we are so conservative that you don't want to hammer the right word, and you beat about the bush, and the reviewers find it difficult to comprehend. And you can use Grammarly to help you to do that, because typographical error can let people question your authenticity, and that can bring rejection. Online database and repository for literature review, access scholarly article, books, and other resources like PubMed, Google Scholar. I know PubMed is not open to everybody, unlike some of us who are here in America, because if any work you do based on NIH grant must be open. Therefore, we have access to those work here. But it's not that in Africa, which I know. Therefore, you can access and you can talk to your colleagues who are outside that can send you some of those materials as a form of downloading. And guideline and templates for formatting matrix, you have a lot of them. Adhere to journal-specific formatting requirements, because it's very, very important. If you don't, no matter how beautiful your work is, if you don't adhere to their format, as you send it, they will reject it within 24 hours because they won't bother to. And that may be a bad introduction into that editorial system. Yeah, by the time you even correct it, they already have bad impression about you, and that may be very bad. Using the template for structural manuscript, you use the normal format that you want to do. Case studies and example, showcasing successful example of scientific publications, which we already have. What you have done, what you need to do is to go and download a paper in the journal you want to submit, and look at how it was written, the formatting. Don't go and download the last year, the 3 years for one. Just download the recent one, the most recent, probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and you can use that format because it's very, very important. Now, sometimes when you write, try to stop. I want to discuss that when you write, try to stop and think about it. I told about first draft, second draft. You can come back. Someone like me, I'm an analog thinker. When it comes to scientific writing, I prefer writing on my paper. Get my paper here. First, write what I think. I know references I will cite because I've read tons of them, but I'll first write down whatever I'm thinking. About 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages. Then I will start typing, because I don't want typing, my focus on typographical error impaired my flow of thought. Therefore, when I'm writing, I don't care. I just write and so on and so forth. Just move on. That helps me to flow better when I'm writing, while knowing fully that by the time I go back there, I'll be able to put where I was supposed to say, okay, this information I said, this is what the person I want to cite, this is the person I want to cite, this is the person I want to cite here. Then that helps me to put into, and that method also helped me to avoid unnecessary plagiarism, because all these are thoughts that comes from my mind, because I write it myself originally. And not that everything comes directly from my brain, because don't forget, I've read tons of paper from through the lens that I think and I write. Therefore, that helps me to write my original paper. And some of you may think I think analog. Use the method that works for you anyway. But that's how I do my things. I can't flow well typing and thinking for too long. Now, lastly, let's move to the third phase, is scientific publication writing. Now we are focusing on sending. You have written your proposal, you have done the projects. Now, you write a project. Project writing can be for graduate students or master students, because those are the hard copy we submit to get a particular degree. Depending on if you are required to publish your work before you defend it, that's the format different. The formatting may be different. But most importantly, either you do that or not, you will still require to publish those beautiful findings you have. And that is what we are moving into. Scientific publication. Importance of scientific publications cannot be overemphasized, because if it's not written down, it has never happened. And why? It advanced knowledge in various fields, building a research scholar reputation and career. People will read it and say, wow, you guys are doing well. And you do, above all, which is your reward anyway, it's contributing to academic discourse and scientific community. That's the reason why you want to do that. And above all, it brings fame to you, your institutions, your country, and your continent. Unfortunately, our continent is not yet being reputable for such. Therefore, we have to do more. And I think that's one of the reasons for this webinar. I'll be glad if you have questions on that. And these are writing strategies that you can do. I've said it, write a clear and concise sentences, avoid jargons, unnecessary complexity. I've explained it earlier. Using active and precise language. Proper organization and structures, very, very important. Follow a logical flow from introduction to conclusion. Even if you do your research otherwise. Even if you do your research otherwise. I may explain, if you want to know, I may explain during that one during the question. Using headlines and subheadline to guide your reader. That's very, very important. Although some journals may not request for that, but in your first draft, do that. Then you can now format it to other journals. Don't forget, it can be a beautiful word, and it can even be rejected. Therefore, you can send it to another. We'll talk about the rejection later. Using appropriate scientific languages and terminology, define key terms and concepts. You know, if you first use the word, you can put acronyms in it and you continue to use them as long as you do not overuse before you explain again. Consistent in terminology throughout your manuscript is very, very important. Citing sources and avoid plagiarism. I've said that plagiarism is another different thing, though you may not be plagiarizing unknowingly because information are clear, but make sure that the similarity index is very, very low within your work. If similarity index is too high, it's actually, you are doing a disservice to your work because it doesn't make your work unique, and therefore fewer people will cite it, especially if you publish in a small journal. And don't don't feel shy to cite your work or your colleagues. Because as one of those things, in as much as many of us want to cite international journals, we don't cite ourselves, and nobody sees what you have done. And that's the bad thing again. These are the tips for revisions and proofreading. Take break between writing and revising. Yes, once you are done writing, leave it 2-3 days, 1 weekend later, then go back to read it to be sure if your thoughts, what you are thinking, probably is not because your glucose was too high last time you were overthinking about the material, or probably you missed a paper. In between that one, in between the break, read 1 or 2 papers as well. Seek feedback from colleagues and mentors. That is very positive. That is what a first draft. You can give it to them. When I mean first draft, I mean first draft, the first draft that is presentable to you, that you are confident enough to show to the rest. Using addition to catch errors and improve clarity. I said it earlier on. You need that. Using editor tool to catch that. I've said that. Understanding scientific publication. Define definition of your scientific publication is what formats disseminations of research through journals, conferences, and books. Therefore, you may choose any of them. Journal publication is also a form, or conference publication is a form of publication. Therefore, you have to write it very well. What did I say? Why do you need to publish in a good journal? Why? Because you are establishing your credibility and expert in the field. Because having a PhD doesn't make you really an expert. It's your output that will make people to see you that, oh, indeed you are an expert now. Contributing to the collective body of knowledge. Yes, you are contributing to the body of knowledge. I always announce that when I publish something, I feel, okay, this is our part in contributing to the body of knowledge, because that's what we do as scientists. Facilitating collaborations and peer, because people will read it and say, oh, wow. I was at the where I presented last weekend, Friday, at the mini symposium organized by SFN chapter of Oregon and Washington here. And following day, when I went there on Saturday, a scholar fellow of mine was looking, Dr. Wise was looking for me, who's an assistant professor here. Say, oh yeah, Dr. Adeni, yeah, actually I'm looking for you, because what you talk about, I think we can collaborate on this. We have some brain. Okay, what do you need? Then I was able to do that. If I didn't talk, nobody would know that I do something similar to that. Unfortunately, I was in a meeting on Wednesday. I was invited to come and have a lunch with one of the invited speakers. And I went there, and unfortunately, I don't know that a lady who is a student here was in the meeting. He was telling me about my work. I said, oh, I don't know you were there. Now, that's how your work can actually speak about you. Different type of scientific publications. As I said, we have the journal article, we have conference paper, we have book chapters, but conference journals are the most appreciated for work of art for scientists. Therefore, books are good, conference proceedings are good, any other form are good, but on the top tier is a journal article. Why? Because it's a tradition, and it's being peer reviewed. And what does that mean? Is being evaluated by experts in the field for quality and validity. Who doesn't know you? And the importance of peer review is to maintain scientific rigor and integrity. And therefore, always add in your proposal that you are adding rigor. How do you want to add rigor to it? Rigor is is like a quality control process that will help you to do that. And here are the tips for know your audience, where you are sending it to. If you are sending it to Journal of Developmental Biology, focus on that. Clarity and consensus is very important. Follow the EMRAD method, that is introduction method, research and discussion method, to flow through, except otherwise. Craft a compelling title and abstract is very, very important. Provide sufficient detail sufficient detail, not all the detail, sufficient detail that will help your reader to reach the conclusion you want them to read. Don't forget it's a story and it's a journey. Present your results effectively. It's very, very important. Table, if needed, figures, graphs to tell your story, to drive your point home. Interpret results thoughtfully. Thoughtfully is very important. Cite source properly. It can help you for people to agree with you or disagree. Revise and proofread carefully. It's very, very important. Seek feedback. That is definitely very important. Adhere to journal guidelines. That's if you want them to have it, and be persistent. Rejection is common, no doubt. This I must talk about this. In the last few seconds and minutes I have to do, I must talk about this. Responding to the reviewer, because you have to respond to the reviewer. Before I moved to America, I have not very good about responding to the reviewer. You think the reviewer is like, oh no, I have to fight, I have to show to you that I know what I do. No, it's not about that. You should be able to respect them. Treat them like an expert. Let them know, is they are like your customers always right. Let them know that they are right. But this is what they are right in their thought, but this is what you are thinking. Why you write that. And admit when you are wrong. Organize your response. Yes, respond. Don't just ignore it. Addressing a reviewer concern. If you have a concern that they are, in fact, I remember my paper that were just published. In fact, we had to call virtually all experts on iron in America. My boss called them. Those top tiers in iron hemostasis. We called them to make sure to seek clarifications on that matter. Because our work is not, we are not expert in iron hemostasis. We are just Alzheimer's people moving to microglia, and now iron is coming up. And what the people are thinking, we want to make sure that we are thinking right before we can respond. In fact, we cited some of them in response to the reviewers. Therefore, those are methods that I gained right here, and it's very, very thoughtful of us. And above all, we're able to clear. Being transparent, be transparent. Don't manipulate figures. Don't just be clear about what you have done, and maintain professionalism is very, very important. And seek clarifications. If they ask questions and you are not clear, ask questions through the editorial system before you respond. And express your gratitude to them, because it is free of charge, and they do it to help you. They are helping you indirectly. And finalizing your response, review your response document carefully before submitting to the editor. Ensure that all reviewers' comments have been addressed satisfactorily, and that your response are clear and comprehensive. Sample response format. There should get some format and see how it's been done. I'll be glad to help you if you need that. Make sure you can your conclusion emphasize that the importance of contributing to the reviewer is very important. And they are my own. I'm currently review editor to the Frontier in Neuroanatomy, and these are some of the papers that I've journals that I've reviewed. And for you to get your publication, be part of the review committee, be part of the process. You know, it may consume time, but be part. Because if you are not part of it, nobody will be able to understand the way we think. Because we are African. We are Africans, and we think differently from the rest of the world. Probably unique to us or who we are, our originality. But someone in the editorial team must be able to think like you. And if I'm not there, then who will represent us? Therefore, try to do it. That's why sometimes I try to accept some offer of when they call me. Though I'm very busy, but I'll try to take it just to review. These are challenges. I'm on the dot time now. Challenges facing African financing outputs. These are limited funding, infrastructure and resources. We know it's non-adequate. Brain drain, which can be turned to brain drain. Lack of collaborations and networking, because we don't have fund. You are limited. You think within your horizon. Quality of education and training, yes, we don't have resources, and that affects our output as well. Publishing and citing bias, yes, they don't want to cite us, even whereas they have molded us into citing them without citing ourselves. That's another problem. And language barriers, as I mentioned that. Access to technology and innovation, yes, is very, very serious barrier that we must break. And policy and regulatory constraints, we can do that. We can break all those things. Dissemination and feasibility. African research may lack feasibility recognition global due to challenges in disseminating findings through reputable journals, yes, and conferences. How many of us attend conference from Africa? Because it's very expensive to travel from Africa to other parts of the world, but try to do that because that will help your collaborations. And as I said, be part of the review. And I just got this review on Tuesday that I've been invited as a guest editor to neuroscience under the JOVE. That is a Journal of Visualized Experiment. We published that in that journal with a new method in 2020, and now they are inviting me. I will definitely pick it up. Why? Not because I have time, but because I want to represent my kind. And don't give up. Rejection is people reject. People are being rejected, but it doesn't mean it's not bad. Just dust it up and send it to another one. And embrace your humble beginning. I want to use this image as a count as the last one. You can see CNN and BBC News. Both of them combined, they are less than Facebook today. But lo and behold, in 2004, when Facebook began, if CNN has actually made a demand on Facebook that we will register on your platform, we will go for live stream on your platform, but you pay us for us to do it. Do you know that the Facebook will have agreed? But now the tide have turned. Therefore, your small beginning, if you persist in doing that, you can see the next value of matter now, the new Facebook page, and there are billions. And what is the summary? Don't forget your idea, proposal. If you get a preliminary research, apply for grants and work on your feedback. More data and more data. Don't forget to go for scientific meeting. That is helpful. Get more data, review your data, and attend scientific meetings. Go for drafting, your first drafting. Go for the review. Second review, go for drafting again for review. And your findings, you then take it to the press. Good science enjoy publicity. I will not do justice if I didn't show you this. Last year we got our work, and you can see it was all in the news. It's OHSU scientists discovered new cause of Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. You can see me there, me and my boss, this is Dr. Steven Bach, my mentor. He's a professor of pediatrics and neurology. And you can see we made it to OHSU 2023 accomplished accomplishments of the year under review section. In fact, we are number 2 here. You can see it. Therefore, we made it there. And in fact, so a couple of news agency TV stations came to interview us on our great discovery, and we were proud of that. And many people, just to show you a reference, you can see new cause of Alzheimer's discovered. Therefore, those are news that we're enjoying. Therefore, at the end of those will be your reward if you are able to do good. And my suggestions as I round up is official journal. SONA need an official journal. I know when we were in Morocco in 2013, it was boosted, and they were thinking of adopting. If SONA, if IBRO can go for 2 journals, SFN is now going for 2 journals, SONA can have our own journal. Therefore, we can do that. And we can start well, be thinking well. We can have effective mentorship on journal publication. More networking and partnership is needed. Incentive scientific output is very important. Let's incentivize our people and let's have our own journal that will talk to the world. It's gone are the days when we say, okay, let's go and publish them. They will definitely bias against us if we don't have one. let's invest more in technology. And I must say, I rely so much on this, my book, to come up with this journal. I and my Dr. Olatunji, we published this book about 7 years ago. But it often takes skill and practice to start enjoying and reaping benefits of hard work. Therefore, don't worry, it soon come. Thanks for listening. And let's go for questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Philip, for that excellent, excellent talk. I have taken so many treasures from your talk. And, you know, as you were talking about rejection, I was just thinking of my recent conversation with my mentor, who said to me, Lihle, what is important is that you must have a list of at least 4 or 5 journals that are suitable for the work you are doing, so that the minute you get a rejection, you quickly send the paper to the next journal. So there was like so many nuggets that you were saying that I really found were so profound, and we really need them. So I'm also happy that it's actually recorded. Okay, I guess this means your talk was very clear, and I agree. It was extremely clear. I really, really enjoyed it. And at the end, you also mentioned wanting, well, you mentioned that SONA should have their own journal. And we are in the process of doing that. And I actually want to invite you to be part of the team that is going to be responsible for creating our own journal.
Yeah, I'll be honored. I'm part of the editorial team of Nigerian Society for Nigerian Journal of Neuroscience. Therefore, I'm always ready to help, because we need to tell our story in our own way, and
Yes.
before we know it, they will respect us. And as for the journal, as for the rejection, with my publication that went viral, we have some people reject your work, not because it's not good, but it's because it's competing with what they are working on. And they don't want you to get it out first before them. Therefore, there is a politics of publications that we must understand, because we are naive, thinking they reject your work because it's not too good. No, that may not be 100%. They may reject your work because it's competing with what they are doing or what they are about.
That's true.
Therefore, you have to be careful. I had a very sad experience of recent with this paper that we sent a work to a journal which my boss wanted to publish with, but unofficially I spoke with the one of the people in that big tier of the journal who saw my work, and he said, "Wow, the work is fantastic. That he won't mind if I don't mind, he will send me some of his sample for me to analyze." My boss said, "Wow, that would actually stop the progression of your work." And then I should just ask him if he's interested, if he has any data that he could send it, that we can add it to it. But could you imagine the person did not reply to today? Therefore, some people they may want to scoop your data. Therefore, that is why people go to press very fast. Therefore, don't feel bad. And as I show you, some journals, even they have been rejected, and those articles later end up winning Nobel Prize. Therefore, never be rejected. It means that they don't understand what you are doing. And ultimately, the lady that won the Nobel Prize in medicine this year for the vaccine discovery, you can see that she doesn't publish in the big journals. Therefore, gone are the days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Philip, and congratulations on all the achievements you have made in your academic path. I wish you all the best. I guess we can adjourn this meeting, and thank you for coming to give us all of this knowledge